Hey there, and welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
So this is where we take your sources, articles, research, notes, whatever you've got, and we really try to pull out the key bits of insight just for you.
And today we're tackling India. It's a country with just an incredibly rich and complex story.
It really is. Our mission is basically to get you well-informed fast by digging into this stack of material.
Yeah, the sources you sent cover a huge range. I mean, we've got moon landings, ancient mysteries,
Population dynamics that are literally changing the world map.
and even a world-famous love story thrown in. It's quite the mix.
Exactly. Some genuinely surprising things popped out when going through these sources. Okay, ready to unpack this.
Let's do it.
So maybe let's start with something really current, something that made headlines recently. India reaching for the moon.
Yes, Chandrayaan-3. That's a fantastic place to begin, a major achievement.
Right, so the key date from the sources was August 23rd, 2023. Successful soft landing.
That's the one. And crucially, it landed near the moon's south pole.
Which makes India the first country to successfully land there, right?
The very first. That's the big headline. Others have landed on the moon, sure, but not in that specific region.
And why is the South Pole such a hot spot, so to speak?
Well, the big hope, and what the sources really emphasize, is water ice. Scientists think there could be significant amounts hidden in craters down there that never see sunlight.
Permanently shadowed craters.
Exactly. And if you find water ice, I mean, that's potentially game-changing.
How so?
You can split water into hydrogen and oxygen. That's rocket fuel. It's also breathable air and drinking water for astronauts. It could make future lunar bases, actually feasible, much less reliant on expensive supplies from Earth.
So finding water there could unlock a lot. And this landing puts India in a very small club.
A very exclusive one. Only the fourth country to achieve a soft landing anywhere on the moon. You've got the Soviet Union and the US way back in '66.
Right.
And China in 2013. But again, tackling the South Pole, that's next level.
Because it's more difficult.
Oh, definitely. The terrain is much rougher, more craters, more shadows, and it's incredibly cold. Like minus 180 degrees Celsius cold. That poses huge technical challenges.
And they had a rover too, Pragyan.
Yep, Pragyan. Solar powered. It trundled around for about 2 weeks, which is one lunar daytime.
Did its job, took measurements.
It did. Sent back valuable data, confirmed some elements in the soil near the landing site. It didn't wake up after the freezing lunar night, which was, well, maybe hoped for, but not entirely unexpected given the conditions. Still, a successful run while it lasted.
The sources also drew a contrast with Russia's attempt around the same time.
Right, the Luna 25 mission. Sadly, it crashed just days before Chandrayaan-3 landed successfully.
A stark reminder of how hard space exploration really is.
Absolutely. It really puts India's achievement into perspective. It highlights the incredible engineering and, frankly, the nerve required.
So for anyone following space developments, the big takeaway here is
India's basically given us a crucial foothold in the hunt for lunar water. It's a big boost for understanding those resources, which ties directly into plans like NASA's Artemis program, aiming for a sustainable human presence on the moon. That lunar H2O is key.
okay, fascinating stuff. Let's zoom back down to Earth now. From the vastness of space to the sheer number of people in India.
A different kind of vastness.
Exactly. The sources point out India has now overtaken China as the world's most populous country.
Yeah, that's a really significant shift. The estimates for 2025 put India at around 1.45 billion people. China is around 1.42 billion.
And India is still growing quite fast.
It is, adding something like 10 to 12 million people every year. That's like adding almost another medium-sized country annually.
Wow. And a key point from the material is how young this population is.
That's crucial. The average age in India is about 29 and a half. Compare that to, say, Japan, where it's nearly 50.
Big difference.
Huge. It's often called the demographic dividend. This massive pool of young people represents enormous potential for the workforce, for innovation, for economic growth in the coming decades.
But that potential comes with challenges, right? Especially density. India's got less land than China.
Way less land, but now more people. So the population density is roughly triple China's, around 500 people per square kilometer on average.
Which must put immense pressure on everything.
Absolutely. The sources use the example of Mumbai's train stations during rush hour. If you've ever seen images or videos,
Yeah.
it's just an unbelievable crush of humanity. It really makes you visualize the pressure on infrastructure, housing, resources.
And within that massive number, incredible diversity.
Oh, it's staggering. The sources mention over 2,000 distinct ethnic groups.
2,000.
Yep. and over 1,600 languages spoken across the country.
1,600 languages. How does anything get done?
Well, the government officially recognizes 22 languages. But even that, I mean, imagine the logistics. The sources mention the paperwork nightmare, just producing official documents, signs, everything, in over 20 languages. The cost, the complexity.
You could kind of experience this diversity in a more enjoyable way, though, right?
Huh, definitely. Like through the food, try street food like pani puri, or even just different kinds of naan bread across the country.
Ah,
The
yeah.
flavors change dramatically. You might get fiery hot dishes in the south, then these rich, creamy kormas in the north. It's a delicious map of the country's cultural landscape.
Okay, so we've got the people. Let's peel back the layers of time now. India's history is incredibly deep, thousands of years.
Thousands. We can start way back, around 5,000 years ago, with the Indus Valley Civilization. This was one of the world's earliest urban societies.
Like Mohenjo-Daro, I remember reading about that.
Exactly, Mohenjo-Daro, Harappa. Cities that were remarkably advanced for their time. They had planned streets, sophisticated drainage systems, multi-story brick houses, really impressive engineering.
But then it just disappeared. Around 1900 BCE, that's a big mystery.
It is one of history's great puzzles. The sources discuss the main theories. Climate change is a big one, maybe rivers shifting course or drying up, affecting agriculture.
Or natural disasters, earthquakes, floods.
Plausible. Another theory is invasion or conflict, though the evidence for widespread warfare is debated, or maybe internal societal collapse.
And the sources mention something a bit more out there.
You mean the ancient nuclear blast theory?
Yeah.
It pops up now and then, often linked to vitrified materials found at some sites, sort of melted glass-like stuff. It makes for a wild story, but let's just say it's firmly on the fringes. Mainstream archaeology points to more mundane, though still devastating, causes like environmental shifts. It's fun speculation, though.
Okay, so fast forward a few centuries. The Indo-Aryans arrive.
Right. Around 1500 BCE, these were groups migrating from Central Asia. They brought the seeds of what would become Vedic culture, the foundation for Hinduism.
And we should probably address that old myth mentioned in the sources.
Oh, the blonde, blue-eyed Aryan thing. Yeah, that's largely discredited now. It was, frankly, old colonial era or even Nazi era propaganda. Genetic studies today show a much more complex picture, likely a mix of migrating pastoralists interacting and blending with the existing populations of the subcontinent, not some kind of pure conquering race.
Good to clarify. Then, around 500 BCE, a truly pivotal figure emerges, Siddhartha Gautama.
The man who would become the Buddha. This is a fascinating turn. He was born a prince, supposedly shielded from suffering by his father.
Didn't his dad try to keep him locked in the palace or something?
That's the story, trying to prevent him from seeing old age, sickness, and death. But eventually Siddhartha did see them, and it shook him profoundly. He started questioning everything.
So he left that life behind.
At age 29, yeah. Ditched the royal life, went searching for answers, meditated, sought enlightenment, and eventually achieved it under the Bodhi tree, becoming the Buddha, the awakened one.
And his teachings were pretty radical for the time.
Very much so. Ideas about equality, compassion, escaping the cycle of rebirth through the Eightfold Path, the Four Noble Truths. It challenged the existing social order, especially the rigid caste system that dictated so much of life.
A few centuries later, India sees major unification under empires. Ashoka stands out.
Emperor Ashoka, around 300 BCE, ruler of the Maurya Empire. He started off as a pretty brutal conqueror, expanding his empire through warfare.
But then he had a change of heart.
A profound one. After a particularly bloody campaign, the sources say he was horrified by the suffering he'd caused. He converted to Buddhism and completely changed his approach.
From warrior king to peace advocate.
Pretty much. He started promoting nonviolence, tolerance, social welfare. It's like this ancient ruler finding mindfulness and deciding to rule through dharma, or righteous duty, instead of force. And his patronage helped spread Buddhist teachings all across Asia.
Okay, let's leap forward quite a bit now to the 17th century. The Mughal Empire and arguably the world's most famous building.
The Taj Mahal. Instantly recognizable.
Built out of a love story, right? Emperor Shah Jahan and Mumtaz Mahal.
That's the heart of it. Shah Jahan was deeply devoted to his wife, Mumtaz. The story goes that when she died tragically in 1631, giving birth to their 14th child,
14th, wow.
her dying wish, supposedly, was for him to build a monument unlike any other, a testament to their love.
And he certainly delivered.
Oh, did he ever? Building the Taj Mahal was a monumental effort, Took something like 20 years, maybe 20,000 workers, artisans from all over. It's just this breathtaking masterpiece of white marble, intricate inlay work, known for its incredible symmetry.
Almost perfect symmetry, as the sources point out. But this grand vision had consequences.
It did. It was hugely expensive, put a massive strain on the imperial treasury, and this perhaps contributed to some family drama.
Drama is one word for it. His own son.
Right. His son, Aurangzeb, eventually grew tired of his father's spending, perhaps saw him as ineffective, staged a coup, and imprisoned Shah Jahan in the Agra fort just across the river, where he could apparently gaze at the Taj Mahal until his death.
Ouch. Quite the end for the man who built this symbol of love.
A rather tragic irony.
But the Taj itself endures, obviously. A global icon.
Absolutely. UNESCO World Heritage Site draws millions. It is India for so many people visually. And there's that little quirk the sources mentioned, Shah Jahan's own cenotaph, added later next to Mumtaz's inside the main tomb, is slightly off-center. It's the one thing that breaks the otherwise perfect symmetry of the whole complex.
Interesting detail. Okay, shifting gears to the more modern era. Independence from Britain.
A pivotal moment. 1947, huge celebrations, but also immense tragedy.
The partition.
Yes, the division of British India into independent India and Pakistan. It was accompanied by horrific violence, mass migrations, maybe millions displaced or killed. And the sources note those tensions, particularly over Kashmir, still linger today.
And it's worth remembering, as the sources highlight, the context of World War II here too.
Right. Millions of Indian soldiers fought bravely for the British Empire during the war. But back home, the independence movement, led by figures like Mahatma Gandhi, was gaining momentum.
Using very different tactics.
Completely different. Gandhi's philosophy of satyagraha, nonviolent civil disobedience, captured global attention and proved incredibly powerful against a colonial power. A fascinating contrast between armed service abroad and nonviolent resistance at home, both shaping India's destiny.
Okay, bringing us right up to today. Let's talk about India's economy. The sources paint a picture of a real global powerhouse.
It definitely is a major economic force. Currently the world's fifth largest economy by nominal GDP. We're talking around $3.9 trillion in 2024.
And poised to grow further, possibly overtaking Japan soon.
That's the projection, yes. The sheer scale is impressive.
But, like we talked about with population, that overall size doesn't always translate to individual wealth, does it?
That's the key caveat. The GDP per capita, so the economic output divided by the population, is much lower, around $2,800 per person. Compare that to the U.S., maybe $80,000 per person.
Big gap.
Huge gap.
Yeah.
It shows that while the overall economy is massive, that wealth is spread very thin across 1.45 billion people. Lifting average incomes remains a major challenge.
What are the big strengths driving the economy, according to the sources?
Well, the tech sector is massive. Cities like Bangalore, Hyderabad, often called the Silicon Valley of India. They're home to huge Indian IT giants like Infosys, Wipro, TCS, plus tons of startups and the back offices for countless global corporations.
Most of us have probably interacted with India's IT sector without even realizing it.
Almost certainly. If you've called a customer service line for a big international company, there's a decent chance you were talking to someone in India. It's a massive employer and export earner.
And then there's Bollywood.
Right. Not just culture, but a huge industry. The sources point out it actually produces more films per year than Hollywood.
More than Hollywood, wow.
Yeah, it's a global phenomenon, known for its musicals, its drama, its stars. It has enormous cultural and economic clout. The sources suggest checking out a Bollywood film. If you haven't, it's quite an experience.
But despite tech and Bollywood, there are challenges for future growth.
Definitely. The economy is quite heavily reliant on services that makes up over half of the GDP. Manufacturing hasn't grown as fast as, say, China's did during its boom years.
So less factory growth.
Relatively speaking, yes. To really create jobs for that massive young population and move more people into the middle class, India needs more growth in manufacturing, better infrastructure roads, ports, reliable power, and, critically, continued improvements in education and skills training.
Some forecasts are very bullish, though. The sources mention Mauro Gillen predicting potential dominance by 2030.
Yes, driven largely by that demographic dividend we talked about, all those young workers and consumers. The potential is definitely there.
But it's not guaranteed.
No, and other analyses offer caution. They warn that India could hit a plateau if it doesn't effectively tackle really tough issues: persistent poverty, inequality, bureaucratic red tape that can stifle business, and the huge pressures of managing its rapidly growing cities. Urban overcrowding is a major one.
It brings us back to that image you mentioned earlier, from the sources the packed Indian train.
It really is a powerful metaphor, isn't it? Standing on that platform or riding that train. You feel the sheer density, the energy, the chaos, the vendors shouting, kids running around.
The hustle.
Exactly. Incredible hustle and vibrancy. That energy is India's great potential. But the sources imply the challenge is channeling it, directing the immense human energy towards building a future with better infrastructure, more opportunity, and more sustainable growth for everyone crammed onto that train, metaphorically speaking.
So that wraps up our deep dive into the sources on India. Quite a journey.
It really is. From ancient cities lost to time, to philosophical shifts that changed the world,
Iconic monuments born of love and loss, the struggle for independence.
right up to landing on the moon, managing the world's biggest population, and navigating the complexities of being a 21st century economic giant.
We hope this discussion, pulling from all those different sources, is giving you a clearer picture, maybe some new perspectives. It's definitely worth thinking about which parts of this story stood out most to you.
And maybe just one final thought to leave you with, something that ties it all together. Consider this blend a nation grappling with the immense pressures of population density while simultaneously pioneering exploration in space, a place holding ancient mysteries and deep histories while forging a digital future. It embodies so much diversity, yet faces this huge challenge of creating equitable growth.
Yeah.
Doesn't this incredible mix of ancient roots, modern ambitions, and persistent challenges kind of perfectly capture the dynamic, often contradictory reality of our 21st century world? What might India's journey with all its complexities teach the rest of us about navigating the future?
That is a fascinating question to ponder. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
My pleasure. Always interesting.
Until next time, keep digging deeper.